welcome to Fusion tonight. Are you ready to worship? Tonight we have Jan Benson stopping by as our guest and a great message from Lisa Congdon. Now get on your feet for our host, John Cooper.
Welcome to Fusion tonight. I'm your host, John Cooper. How are we doing tonight? We have a youth group from Jessup. Give it up for them. Special guests. We have the most fantastic show I think we could have ever planned the same night the Cubs are trying to win the World Series. But before we can get into that show, we got to talk about all this crazy stuff going on in the news. As many of you know, Halloween is over. It was Monday night. Halloween was a great success. There was costumes, treats. Some people said they actually saw ghosts. Well, at least that's what their parents said when they were trying to sneak candy from their kids' bags. Oh my God, a ghost!
Nice try.
I know, right? I saw this. A pastor from a mega church down in Texas said he was stopped by the TSA at the airport because they needed to check his Bible before he got on the plane. I know we have a tendency to use it as a weapon, but this is getting a little ridiculous, don't you think?
Oh, good one.
The other punchline was a lot worse, I'm sure. And finally, I don't know if you saw this, a lady went to a casino and thought she had won a $42 million jackpot, only to have the casino tell her that she didn't win, they weren't going to pay her, the machine simply malfunctioned. Now we know how Donald Trump gets out of paying taxes. So, it was a malfunction. It wasn't working. That's not accurate. All right, well, welcome to Fusion tonight. Normally I would throw you over to our musical guest, but instead I'm going to say enjoy the music of Gloria Estefan as I take my seat.
Well, okay.
Or not. It's too late. It's too late. All right. You guys, we have a fantastic show for you, and for our guests, a great show. She is an amazing volunteer in this church. She helps out with our community meals, with the Ingathering. She's our very own resident bag lady. Jan Benson will be stopping by later tonight. I'm so excited to have Jan on the show. In giving our message, we've been doing a series on the Methodist Church and our book of social principles, talking about how we relate to the world community. Lisa Congdon will be speaking tonight. It is going to be a fantastic show with great speakers, and just like the time it takes for applause breaks in between my jokes, tonight's show will probably be short because I know a lot of people want to get home to watch the Chicago Cubs. But unless you're a Cleveland Indians fan, in which case you're like the minority, so like meh. But before we can talk to our guests, we here at Fusion do what is called our open mic time. Now, for traditional churchgoers, this looks a lot like Joys and Concerns. So this is your chance to raise up whatever is on your heart and mind, whatever we need to think about or pray about. I usually start just to get the ball rolling. I've got two things. The first thing, I want to send out all the prayers I can to the two families that lost police officers this morning, the two police officers that were killed this morning in Des Moines. It was a senseless act of violence, and I'm really hoping that as we grieve and as we heal, we can find ways to restore that trust and eliminate incidences like this. Police put their lives on the line for us on a daily basis to keep our communities safe, and it's my hope that we can make communities where they're safe too. So I definitely want to pray for them, and I want to lift up prayers. My wife Gabby has been having a hard time today. Her cousin Jimmy was airlifted to Iowa City today. He was working out and he had a stroke, and they found that he had 3 blood clots in his brain by the time that they were able to perform surgery. They were able to clear 2. The one was too risky, so they're hoping that they can clear it with meds. He just got out of surgery not too long ago. He is awake. He's got a long way to go. I'm just praying for him, his whole family. He has such a wonderful family, his wife Emily. They have a daughter, Isabella, who was born premature. She has autism, and she has a lot of other developmental issues going on, and she really needs a two-parent home. So we're really hoping Jimmy's going to be all right. And then they've got their youngest, Josiah, and he's just such a beautiful little boy. So I want to lift them up. So with that, that's my concerns. I want to turn it over to you. If anyone else has any joys, concerns, anything on their hearts or minds that they would love to share, we'd love to hear from you. Guests, people that come every week, anything at all. It doesn't have to be serious, it can be silly, fun. Maybe you're trying to sell pots on eBay. I don't know. This is your chance.
Christian's got one.
All right, Christian.
We're starting the 6-day countdown for our Disney trip.
Woo! That's exciting.
That is exciting. We get to babysit their chihuahuas while they are in Disney. So that'll be an amazing trip. So safe travels, and we hope that they have a good time. Leslie.
It's with a sad heart that I want to lift up Kelly Roy. This is her last night at Fusion before she moves to Michigan. And she's been a dear friend for years and years. And I will cry, so I'll stop talking to her. We're going to Michigan.
Yeah. For our guest, Kelly Roy and her husband John, who's in Michigan now waiting for his beautiful wife to join him, join the church. And I mean, as soon as they got here, they just immersed themselves in the church. In Sunday school, they helped out big with the rummage sale. And if you're familiar with your church life, getting people to get excited about the rummage sale is like one of the hardest things to get people excited for. And they took that on, and they've just been such a huge help. They've been ushers. I mean, they really immerse themselves in whatever Christ community they're in. So we're going to miss having your presence here at our church. And safe travels to Michigan. And I'm just glad you're not moving to somewhere awful like Nebraska. So we will miss you, Kelly. I see a little hand right there in the front. Kaylee?
I have 2 loose tips.
You have 2 loose teeth. I know what you're going to want for Christmas. So she's going to be cheap this year, Matt. So that's good. Just the 2 front teeth? And then, okay. Anybody else? Oh, there's one in the back behind Matt.
Daddy just asked me if I touched him.
All right, if there are no other hands, let us be in an attitude of prayer. Gracious God, we are so thankful that we can gather in this space with one another. We can gather in this space as we welcome you into our hearts for our time of worship. Lord, we're so thankful to have special guests with us tonight as they check out our church and the ways that we have chosen to worship you. And we are so thankful for everyone else that is here in attendance tonight as well. It is so wonderful to see all of the hands and the feet that make up the body of Christ gather in one space to join together in their common love for you and what you teach us and what you ask of us. Lord, we have some joys, we have some concerns. We have the joys of children experiencing what it's like to lose teeth. We have the joys of children getting to go to Disney World. We have the joys of sitting here in good health, of sharing in fellowship. But Lord, we also have some concerns. We had the sad events that took place in Des Moines this morning as 2 officers lost their lives serving the communities that they've served for a while, and losing them is not easy, Lord, and we ask that you are with their families, with their friends, and with their community as they go through their time of grief. They need all the healing they can get in any way that we can lift up our prayers and our hearts and our talents and our gifts to help that community. Lord, we ask that you help us find ways to do that. And Lord, we ask that you lift up Jimmy. He went through quite the ordeal today, and all we're asking is for him to come out okay. He's got such a beautiful family, and they rely on him for everything. And we're just asking that whatever magic, whatever you got in you, Lord, that you are able to send some good news their way as they are desperately searching for anything positive to cling on to. And Lord, for the rest of us, for all the things in our heart that maybe we're too shy to say, but we're never too shy to say them to you, and we know that you know that all of those things are on our hearts and on our minds. We ask that you dig down deep and touch each and every one of us and let us know that you are here, you are with us. And while we may not know what our future holds, we know it is you that holds our future. Lord, we ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited for this first guest. She's our resident bag lady. She's a huge volunteer. Give it up for Jan Benson.
I feel like I should be dressed like the bag lady.
That's all right. You're fine wearing what you're wearing. How are you doing, Jan?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. We have been doing this show for 2 years. Never once has anyone ridden in on a tricycle of that stature.
Well, that's my pet. PET right there.
Your
Personal Energy Transport. That's part of the Ingathering funding. Goes to create pets for people overseas mostly that can't walk. They use these pets to get around, like I showed you coming in. It's like a pickup truck for them, and it's quite a thing to be part of, giving somebody a way to transport themselves.
That's amazing, and that's a really, and you for those of you who have never ridden a bike like this, it is an arm workout. For our guests, as you walked in, we have that ramp. When you walk in the doors, there's that ramp. We actually have had contests to see who can use that to get up that ramp the fastest. Currently, Chris Congdon in the back
Yes.
owns the record
22.40.
at 22 seconds. I came in at 24 seconds. It was a disappointing showing for me. I'm hoping to beat that record.
However, we don't like the kids to be playing on that, you know.
No.
And okay.
Not that I would want to encourage
Well,
that type of behavior,
Well,
but
honey,
I'm totally
to me,
kind of-
you're one of the kids.
What? Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Okay.
I haven't grown up at all
Yeah.
since I was like 5, so
Yeah.
it's fine. It's not. I don't think it's necessary. I
No.
don't want to be too old.
The thing with this pet is that it's very easy for them to fix overseas. It's it's a pretty plain and simple thing, so it's a great addition to their lives. So it's a great thing for the Ingathering to be part of.
It is. It's a wonderful thing. I almost wish those were like in Walmarts and stuff. Not for the people that really need the cart, but for the people that choose to use them. Like, all right, your arms are gonna hurt.
For the
but-
kids.
Yeah, for the kids.
Yeah.
But it's a wonderful thing, and we do more than just that for the Ingathering.
Last
Don't we?
year, I brought some numbers. Last year, the Ingathering raised $1,043,995.07. That's the whole state of Iowa. The first Saturday of November every
Which
year.
is this Saturday.
Yep, this coming Saturday, is the statewide Ingathering. There are 5 sites in the state where all the churches from the different districts will bring their mission kits, like the school kits we've been collecting, and the health kits, and money for the heifer project, and those different things. All those things are brought together and calculated and sent down to Des Moines. Some of the money goes to Des Moines. The stuff is put into a semi that heads right from here to another one of our sites, and then it heads down to Louisiana to the Umpqua Depot down there to use for emergencies when they happen, so that it goes out to the people that need it when they need it.
Yeah, I know our own Pastor Steve, on one of the trips to Nigeria, he actually got to be there when they arrived. The kits arrived in Nigeria, and he got to see the impact it made on the kids that were there when they received the wonderful gifts that we prepared
That
at
was
Ingathering.
that was really exciting to see that whole circle be completed, but we can see that same stuff ourselves, not only on Saturday, although Saturday is a fun day to be around here and see those kits get loaded onto the semi and stuff, and to see the different mission opportunities that we have, that we have displays set up in the church and stuff. But to see our kids and our families go shopping for the school supplies. I haven't bought school supplies for myself for a few years now. However, I love to go out and buy those things and know that they're going to some kids that really need school supplies. So the mission isn't only the people that receive the things, that really need those things, but it's our giving hearts that are warmed when we know that we're doing something that represents what Jesus taught us to do.
That is such a great point. I'm so excited. And that's this Saturday. Is there, what time, if anybody here would like to volunteer, what time would you want them to show up at the church?
The displays and things start at about 9 o'clock, and there's a lunch at 11 o'clock. There's worship at 10. But if you want to help, we gather at Lincoln School in their cafeteria to help load the trucks around 7 o'clock in the morning. At 11 o'clock, all the kits are loaded, and we fill up almost half the semi with boxes of all these kits from all the areas. So from 7 o'clock to 11 o'clock, they could sure use your help over there, and it's a fun time. They have a good time over there.
Well, that's awesome. I can't think of a better way to spend a Saturday than to be using our talents and our gifts to fulfill Christ's ministry, to give to those in need.
Well, when you see the totals end up over $1 million, that's a lot of giving and a lot of work that's being done by us for the work of Jesus.
And that's amazing. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Jan?
Nothing except that my close relation, that bag lady, Daffodilia, I've been told I look a lot like her. But
you know, now that you mention it, in the eyes.
Yeah, in the eyes.
You got that same kind of crazy stare.
Yeah.
It's uncanny, really.
Yeah, it is pretty uncanny. Well, she sure enjoys being a part of the church, too. So.
That's awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Jan Benson.
Thank you very much. Now let's see if I can get this thing going again. There we go. Thank you all.
Applaud her as she moves. Oh, that was fantastic. All right. We now move into our offering time. Now, traditionally, there would be a passing of the plates. Here at Fusion, we're a little unique. We're a talk show, so obviously we're unique. When we do our offering, instead of passing of the plates, we have a table with a little jar over there, and during the offering song, we allow folks to get up and to place money in the jar during this time, or we encourage you to do so on your way out if a monetary gift is one you would like to give.
God in the Spirit, revealed in Jesus Christ, calls us by grace
to be renewed in the image of our Creator,
that we may be one
in divine love for the world.
Today is the day.
God cares for the integrity of creation,
wills the healing and wholeness of all life,
weeps at the plunder of earth's goodness,
and so shall we.
오늘이 그날입니다.
God embraces all hues of humanity.
La lumière dans la diversité et la différence.
Favors solidarity,
transforming strangers into friends.
And so shall we.
Today is the day.
God cries with the masses of starving people.
Despises
growing disparity
between rich and the poor.
Demands justice for the workers in the marketplace.
And so shall we.
Hoje é o dia.
God deplores violence
in our homes and in our streets.
Rebukes the world's warring madness.
Humbles the powerful and lifts up the lowly.
And so shall we.
Today is the day.
God calls for nations
and peoples to live in peace.
Celebrar donde la justicia y la misericordia se juntan.
Anokurudzira panodyiwa nemakava pamwe chete newai.
And so shall we.
Today is the day that God brings good news
to the poor, proclaims release to the captives,
gives sight to the blind,
sets the oppressed
free, and so
shall we.
So that, for those who are joining us for the first time tonight, got to tell you that tonight's message is the last of a series based on the 6 social principles in our United Methodist Book of Discipline. Now, I'm not going to summarize the previous 5 principles, but I'll tell you that they are big, broad topics that cover a lot of territory. And the basic message is to encourage all of us to not only make a difference in this world, but to make a different kind of world. We, as Methodists, understand the gospel of Jesus Christ to be both personal and social. We're encouraged and expected to make decisions that will align ourselves and our society with the mind of Christ and the will of God. Now, taking an active stance in society is nothing new for followers of John Wesley. He set an example for us to marry our personal devotion to God with social action. Methodists have a reputation as a denomination involved with people's lives, with political and social struggles, and we are big believers in supporting missions from local interests, like the food bank, to global issues. The United Methodist Church believes God's love for the world is an active and engaged love, a love that seeks justice and liberty. We can't just be observers. We take action. We care enough about people's lives to take a stand, to call each of us into a response, no matter how controversial the topic. And we do have some topics that are doozies. The church helps us think and act out of a faith perspective. So, the United Methodist Church has a long history of concern for social justice. From the beginning, Methodism was a Christian social justice movement. Under John Wesley's direction, Methodists became leaders in many social justice issues of the day, such as slavery, smuggling, inhumane prison conditions, alcohol abuse, and child labor. Now, to help guide our thinking and acting about how we minister for Christ in the world, the United Methodist Church has created statements that guide the church, that's us, in our efforts to create a world of justice. So our social creed, which is on one of the handouts over there, and I'm not going to read it, is a statement of our convictions about the fundamental relationships between God, God's creation, and God's people. Now, this basic statement is expanded into a more detailed statement called the Social Principles that explains how United Methodists are called to live in the world. These social principles are part of our Book of Discipline, our kind of guidebook for how to be Methodists, and it serves as a guide to official church action and our individual witness or action. So my assigned topic tonight, or social principle number 6, is the world community. And it sounds like a pretty big topic, and it is. As I read through the statements in that section of this book, I found that in general it dealt mostly with national power, war, justice, and law. And here's my take on the topic of the world community based on the social creed in our Book of Discipline. Some statements will be right from this book, some is my paraphrase. God's world is one world, and we are more and more interconnected. We live in a global community. Our technological advances are really outpacing our ability to achieve a stable world, and in fact, we live in a pretty volatile world, as we understood from what happened this morning in Des Moines. Today's technology allows us to be bombarded by real-time and often horrific images of injustice and war and exploitation, ecological crises, and tyranny of all sorts. As Christians, we're called to find workable solutions to these issues if we are to continue on this earth. So our goal as Christ followers is to have a world community of people who honestly love one another. We pledge ourselves, Methodists, to look to the meaning of the gospel in all issues that divide people and threaten the growth of world community. We understand that nations and cultures are diverse, and God created them to be that way. We realize that no nation or culture is always just and fair in its treatment of its own people. The church has to keep nations accountable for unjust treatment of their citizens and others living within their borders. And we as Methodists stand for justice and peace in every nation. Now, we read about this way back in the Old Testament book of Leviticus, where it says, "Where immigrants live in your land with you, you must not cheat them. Any immigrant who lives with you must be treated as if they were one of your citizens. You must love them as yourself, because you were immigrants in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God." Now, we know that some nations possess more military and economic power than others. We urge the major political powers to use their nonviolent power for the good of other nations, rather than to further their own special interests. We as Methodists support efforts to develop a fair economic order so the resources of our earth can be used to benefit all nations and people. And we urge Christians all over the world to encourage their governments to work for the development of a more just economy. In the book of Acts, Peter says, "I now realize how true it is that God does not show favoritism, but accepts from every nation the one who fears him and does what is right." You know the message God sent to the people of Israel, announcing the good news of peace through Jesus Christ, who is Lord of all. Back to the book. We believe war is incompatible with the teachings and example of Christ. As disciples of Christ, we're called to love our enemies, seek justice, and serve as reconcilers of conflict. We believe that the moral duty of all nations is to work together to peacefully resolve every dispute, and we support disarmament under international control. In Paul's letters to the Romans, he said, "Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. And as far as possible, as far as it depends on you, be at peace with everyone." So, all people must feel secure in their life and right to live within a society if order is to be achieved and maintained by law. We support a life of justice and the pursuit of peace. People and nations feel secure in the world community when law, order, and human rights are respected and upheld. Now, about 2,700 years ago, the prophet Micah told us what the Lord requires of us: to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. These words still speak to us today. As Methodists, we endorse the United Nations and other international court systems as the best instruments now in existence to achieve a world of justice and law. We reaffirm our historic concern for the world as our parish and seek for everyone equal membership in a true world community. Quick summary, that's my quick summary of social principle number 6, the world community, but I have more to say so this is it from the Book of Discipline. I think we still need to wrap up the series to make it applicable to us. Now, social justice does play a major role in the United Methodist Church, as I said. The Book of Discipline in the United Methodist Church says, it's a long sentence, bear with me. We hold governments responsible for the protection of the rights of the people to free and fair elections and to the freedoms of speech, religion, assembly, communications, media, and petition for redress of grievances without fear of reprisal, to the right of privacy, and to the guarantee of the rights to adequate food, clothing, shelter, education, and health care. That statement and the social principles are best understood when we are in relationship with people who are most directly impacted by a social issue. When we are in relationship with people, develop a friendship with them even, the social principles become illustrations for how we walk and talk and live and breathe the gospel in our churches and our society today. Now, I can't speak for any of you, but I can give you a few examples for how this looks in my life. I've been a child sponsor through World Vision for over 10 years. I don't know when I started, it's been a while. I started with one little boy from Chile. Isaiah was a chubby-cheeked 4-year-old when I became his sponsor. Now he's tall and husky and almost 15 years old. We have written back and forth for all those years, and I mourned with him when his dog died, and I rejoiced when he finally got a little brother a couple of years ago. Now today I sponsor 4 children. Isaiah's from Chile, Josie from Rwanda, Eliam from the Dominican Republic, and Ragad from the West Bank in Israel. We will probably never meet, but we have written regularly, and I pray for them and their families. I support these children through World Vision, who in turn works with their communities to help them overcome poverty, become self-sufficient, and they also work with the parents and community leaders to provide educational opportunities for children and adults. It's a way to reach the world community, a very small way, but I think it helps. A little over a year ago, I went to the Holy Land with a volunteer and mission group. We were on a 2-week tour, but there was a little more than that. We did see the usual historic holy sites, but our main purpose to be there was to meet with Christian Palestinians to learn firsthand about their life under occupation. It's a complicated situation between the Israeli Jews and the predominantly Muslim Palestinians. There is conflict and distrust and injustice in the way the Palestinians are treated by the more powerful Israeli government. Now, this is not the time to tell that whole story, but I did meet decent, friendly, passionate people who were eager to tell their stories and histories of the land that they loved and they feared losing. We ate with them, worked with them, had conversations with them, and now I have a better understanding of that present day situation in the land where Jesus ministered and proclaimed the good news to all. So I still email our tour guide, Ibrahim, on occasion, and he keeps me apprised of what's going on in his land and in his life. Now, without that relationship, tenuous as it is, I would probably have lost interest and forgotten about the hardships I witnessed. But Ibrahim keeps me apprised of the difficulties of his people and his land, keeps me a little bit pissed off about it, and I keep that in mind as I decide how to vote for political leaders in my own country, what stand they have on that issue. Another example, I've been a part of a couple of prison reentry teams in the past 2 years. Now, these teams of 4 or 5 caring individuals agree to befriend or mentor a woman for a year once she is released from prison. It's usually a woman from Mitchellville. We meet weekly with this woman to touch base and to walk alongside her as she navigates life outside the prison walls. One of the young women that I met through a re-entry relationship moved to Louisiana last spring. We still keep in touch with text messages and letters, and I'm happy to say that Melissa is doing pretty well. It's a relationship that got me interested in mental health and drug abuse issues and prison reform. Had I not befriended Melissa and others and heard their stories, I would not have known about the hurt and pain that drug abuse and mental illness can bring to a family. And I would not have known how to advocate for others in similar situations. And on a similar note, I also correspond with a young man in federal prison. Aaron is a member of our church and is over halfway through his sentence of 12 years, I believe. He's by nature a nice, mild-mannered, awkwardly shy young man who made a very poor decision. His crime was not a violent crime or even a crime where he was directly involved with the victim, but the nature of his crime means that he will be labeled for the rest of his life as a risk to live in certain neighborhoods. So I write to him about once a month, just chatty letters about life as a middle-aged church secretary in Cedar Falls. He seems happy to get notes from his hometown. His family is grateful that someone cares for him. And I look forward to seeing him again when he's released in the next few years. It's another relationship that makes me aware of how our criminal justice system works for good or bad. One more story and I'll be done. You may be aware that there is a significant population of Burmese refugees in our community. these individuals and families come with very little in the way of resources or language skills. So a local organization called Ethnic Minorities of Burma Advocacy and Resource Center, or EMBARC for short. This organization helps the refugees in various ways. Now my role with this organization is as an English language partner, volunteer. So this spring I was paired up with this delightful young lady named Clara. And she's very eager to practice her conversational English language skills with me. So we meet every Sunday night for an hour or so, become quite comfortable with each other. A couple of weeks ago I went to her home for dinner and got to meet her neighbors and hear some of their stories and dreams for a better life in the USA. It's a relationship that has given me a better understanding of the challenges that immigrants and refugees can face. I bet that most of you, or all of you, probably have your own way of being Christ for one another. And I encourage you to continue to seek justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your Lord, as Micah so eloquently said. The social principles are simply recommendations for how we as United Methodists can walk and talk and live and breathe the gospel in our churches and our society today. So in closing, I challenge you to look for opportunities to not only make a difference in this world, to make a different kind of world. We're going to end our fusion service with a music video. Although the musical style is not to my usual taste, I love the lyrics and the imagery. I have the lyrics on that sheet because I can't understand them. So be thinking of how you can look for angels or be an angel to someone this week. Cue the video.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for our speaker, Lisa Congdon. Lots to digest there. One, I thought you were just an office lady. I had no idea you did like any of that other stuff. So that's great. I'm happy that you get out of the office to do that.
Once in a while, yeah.
Also, if you have the lyric sheet, that was the band Skillet. Their lead singer's name is actually John Cooper.
What do you know?
Yeah, a much more talented John Cooper, obviously. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I want to thank our guests for coming all the way. I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. It was great to have you worship with us tonight.
John, just so you know, Bear disagrees with you. He thinks you're more talented, John. He said that.
We hope to see you next week. I am going to be diving in and talking about whoever becomes our next president. So that's going to be a fun one. But until then, I hope you all have a great week. Safe travels home. Go Cubbies and be Christ for one another. Thank you guys.